Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to another edition of Share Your Journey Live. And today I am with Andrew Lidman, and I'm very, very happy that you all have taken time out of your busy days to listen to what he has to say and share his journey. And as you all know, some of you might be new, and I did welcome in a lot of new members, so I just want to reiterate, in this Facebook group, I really do try to honor every kind of journey. And in many ways, that I believe that's what travel is about. It's not about the places we go, it's about the path that leads us there. So I created Share Your Journey, a springboard off of Vacation Makeover, as a series that is all about you. It's all about your life and your journey. So Andrew, I believe that the path that you have traveled just may inspire somebody else to take their step, and together we may help others turn their daydreams into destinations. So thank you so much, Andrew, for being here. I greatly appreciate you joining us.
Thank you very much for having me and inviting me to be on. I'm happy to be here.
Good, good, good. All right, so today's Wednesday, February 11th, so let's go ahead and get started. So for those people in this group who don't know who you are, can you share with the group who you are and what do you do every day?
All right. Like you said, my name's Andrew. I'll be 42 in July. I'm a father and two grown sons. My oldest is a junior in college. My youngest just graduated high school back in May of last year. I'm currently a metal fabricator, but I'm also a certified health, life, and recovery coach. I do volunteer at a sober living home that's close to where I live. And I've recently, back in October of last year, launched a brand called Dope to Hope. That stands for Drugs Over Personal Evolution to Helping Other People Evolve. And I've only got one design of t-shirts right now, but I do plan in the next month or two releasing 2 more designs, so there's more on the way with that too. And the proceeds from those shirts are actually going to go back into the recovery community to help pay for the next guy or the next girl's treatment, like to go towards like weeks of their treatment or whatever for those who are searching for a better way of life.
Oh wow, so you're doing a lot of give back, so thank you for that. But so right now, currently, can you describe for us what does life look like for you right now? Not talking about in the past, but like right now. What part of your working in the sober living home and doing your life coaching, what brings you the most amount of joy?
I mean, just being able to give back, really, and that's like a big thing that we talk about. It doesn't matter if you're in a program like NA or AA or a 12-step program or something like that, or if you're just living sober. Like, one of the big things is like giving back, like service to others and stuff like that. So that's always a big joy. Like last week on Tuesday, I celebrated my 2-year clean date.
Congratulations!
So, thank you. And so for that, I'm not like a real big person like celebrating. Like, I made a post and said, hey, yeah, the lie's dead. Like, today's my 2-year anniversary, blah blah, whatever. And but that's about it usually as far as I go. But because I've been volunteering since Thanksgiving at this sober living house in Maiden, I thought it would be a neat idea. So I went to Food Line and I bought like a blank birthday cake, and I asked the lady, can you write happy second Soberversary on the top of it? She said, yeah, sure. So she did that. I took the cake over there with me, and the guys were asking about it, and I told them, like, yeah, this is my 2-year anniversary, and of course, they're giving me hugs and dapping me up and saying that's awesome and they're proud, blah blah blah. Like, but I didn't do it for that. Like, the reason I did it, and I explained it to them, like, as they were eating their dinner. I said, look, I brought this cake here, and with the happy second Soberversary thing on there, I was like, yeah, today's my 2nd-year anniversary, okay, but I want y'all to see that, because that is proof right there that if you stick with it, if you do the work, You know what I mean? Like that's
Yes.
what you can be doing with your family or your friends whenever you get out of this program if you continue living sober. You know what I'm saying? Like you can
Yes.
celebrate things like this. And that's also like a thing of hope, you know what I'm saying, for people, for them to see that, because they're like a couple months in, maybe not quite yet. Some of them, there's a couple guys in there that have only been there for a couple weeks, you know what I'm saying? So they're still pretty fresh. So like for them to be able to see that, that's kind of motivation and it's hope. And,
Yes.
you know, it shows them like, hey man, if this guy can do it, you know, I can do it too. Like, so being able to give back and do things like that is, I mean, that's what it's all about. And it makes me, I guess, it makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside, really. Like, I mean,
Right.
it warms my heart to be able to do stuff like that. Because there was a time when I didn't want to be here. And now that I'm here and I've made it out, like, I want to share the joy of this side of life with anybody and everybody that's willing to listen.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. That is truly powerful, you know. And giving back, I share that sentiment. It does make you feel warm and fuzzy inside, and just being able to give others a sense of hope. So thanks so much for sharing that. But now let's go back a little bit, and I want you to take your time. Don't feel like there's rush because I don't have a time limit on this. That's why I don't put an end time to it. But let's go back a bit, if you feel comfortable. Tell us about the before you found
Recovery?
right, before you found recovery. What did life look for you? Because obviously this is was a defining moment for you. So, do you mind sharing with us a little
No,
bit?
not at all. I have no problems talking about any of this stuff. I mean, I'm actually very open, and I like sharing this stuff because, like I said, it's all about spreading hope. And the reasons I shared these things and why I love to talk about them and stuff is because I suffered in silence for all these years, you know, thinking I was the only one that felt this way and whatever. And when I first got clean and I started joining all these recovery groups online on Facebook and stuff, it's like, oh my God, I'm not the only one, you know, like, all right, like I don't feel so crazy now, you know what I'm saying? So like, so I don't mind speaking and sharing my experiences and stuff because, like I've said, it's all about helping the next person, somebody else out there, even if it's one person that hears my story and hears my experiences, and maybe they're in a similar situation. If it helps to see them through and they improve their lives because of that, then, you know, hey, me sharing my story was worth it.
Yes.
You know, like just for that one life or whatever. So, but
Well, thank you.
okay, so I used crystal meth for 14 years. The end of 2009 is when I started, and I got sober February the 3rd of 2024 was the first day that I didn't use in like a long time. So the real like, I mean, and it wasn't that bad the first several years, but you know, of course, like everything else, you know, you might, like if you're a drinker, okay, you might start only drinking on the weekends or only, you know, special occasions or whatever, like, but it just slowly takes over your life. Like 2023 was a pretty rough year. I was doing over a gram a day, and that's like a lot to me anyways. Like that's $300, $350 worth of meth a week.
Okay.
So that's like a lot of money. I mean, that was like a quarter of what I was making at my job, right? So that's like, yeah, a lot of money. But because, and I started having these arguments with myself back and forth, like all the time. Like every week I would go and get another bag, and I would be sitting in the bathroom, you know, packing my bowl and getting high, and I'm looking at myself like, Andrew, how many more times are you going to do this? Like, because 2023, okay, the pandemic, fentanyl started showing up, and by 2023, like fentanyl's in everything, right? Like not just heroin and not just fentanyl, but it was in meth, it's in pot, it's in like anything and everything you can think of. So that's like really scary. And like there were people that were in the same circle of people that I hung out and I used with and stuff that died from fentanyl poisoning. Because they would get a bag that would be laced with it, and then, you know, and them not knowing until, I mean, you don't know until you do it and it's over with. So I argued with myself back and forth, and I was finally, I don't know, it was sometime during the summer probably, one of the times that I was running roads, and I was like, look, I was just talking. I didn't know, I grew up a Catholic, but somewhere along the way I lost my faith in God, and I didn't know who he was anymore. There were several things that happened to me that I had really, that I should have been mad at myself, but I was mad at God for it, because a lot of addicts and other people, like, we lack accountability, right? So we always want to point the finger at somebody else. So why not the Creator, the one that put you here? Like, how dare you let this happen to me, kind of stuff. But I was just talking to the sky. Like, I was just like, whoever's up there, if you're listening to me, if I'm destined for something greater than to die an addict, I need your help, because I cannot put the drugs down by myself. And I was too scared at that time to go to them at work and say, hey, I need some time off work so I can go to rehab, because in my mind, I'm thinking if I tell them that I'm using, that they're going to just fire me, no questions asked. And I can't lose my job,
Right.
because I've got, bills and stuff I have to pay and whatever. So I just ignored it. And so there came a time in November when my guy went to jail for something stupid. He was gone for a month. And so I got clean for a month. So from Thanksgiving, the week before Thanksgiving 2023 until a couple days before Christmas of 2023, I was clean, and was actually to the point where I was coming out of that really dark and depressing. Like, for those of you who don't know what coming off of meth is like, some people say it's not that bad. You just sleep it off for a week. Like, no, not me.
Okay.
It took a really big toll on me. Like, it took me a month to where I felt like I was halfway regular, feeling, whatever quote unquote normal is, And but a couple of days before Christmas, he gets out and he calls me up. And at that time, I didn't have an angel on one shoulder and a demon on the other shoulder. I had a demon on both my shoulders at that point in my life.
Wow.
Okay, and of course, he calls and he's like, hey man, come pick me up, let's go down the road, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, no, man, like, I just got clean and where I'm feeling halfway decent, like, no, I don't want to do that. And he's still, and then eventually, like, he was like, well, think about it, call me back, man, like I'm here at the apartment, blah, blah, blah. So I get off the phone with him, and of course, both them demons on my shoulders are like, whispering, like, come on, Andrew, blah, 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 And of course, I give in, and after we get done running the roads and stuff, I'm looking at myself in the mirror again in the bathroom, like, Andrew, what in the are you thinking? Like, this was your clean break, and you just screwed it up. And I felt a lot of shame from that, and like guilt tripped on myself pretty hard, because I didn't realize that was my sign and the break that I've been asking for to get clean. So at that time, I was like, well, screw it. I fell off the bandwagon, I'm a screw up, like, I'm just going to die an addict, that's the way it is, blah, 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 whatever. So my goal from that point on was just to get so far out there mentally that I couldn't come back. Wow. Or I would die, one of the two. Because at that point, I had pretty much accepted that was my destiny, that I was going to die an addict. And I also figured that if it happened, I would be doing a service to both my boys, because they wouldn't have to watch their dad suffer anymore.
Oh, wow.
And struggle. So, fast forward 6 weeks, the end of January 2024, and, every week I met this guy for almost 5 years. I met this guy and would give him, would either go and get stuff on my payday, which was Thursday, or I would give him money and send him down the road, and then he would contact me back immediately a couple hours later and, get me straight, whatever. For whatever reason, and hindsight's 20/20, right? So looking back, I see it for what it is now. But at the time, gave him $250, and I sent money down the road with him like hundreds of times over the course of 5 years. Maybe several hundred times. Okay, and for whatever reason, that night he decided he was not going to call me back when he got back with the dope, and so I didn't hear anything from him, and I go to bed, and next day, like I made it to where usually if I had to give him money and send him that, like I made sure that I still had some for to last me a couple days, so I wasn't dope sick immediately after.
Right.
So this goes on for that was on the Thursday through the weekend, still nothing from him, and I'm just disappointed, hurt a little bit that he would do that to me. I mean, even though, he's a dope man, you can't really trust him, right? But to me, he's kind of like my friend. We've never had anything like that happen between us before. He's never done nothing like that. But so this is the second break that I got. So, God was telling me, hey, you screwed up the first one. I'm giving you another one. You better take this, right?
Right.
So I blocked him. I was just like, you know what? Screw it. I don't need to go whatever. I'm done. Pretty much, sort of. So I was like, screw it. I'm blocking him. Whatever. I'll be fine. Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday of that week at work, I had 2 really bad breakdowns at work. All 3 of those days, where I would just go into the bathroom and just bawl my eyes out for no apparent reason other than it was, the way I see it now is it was my soul begging me, screaming at me, who's got to do something to get some help. You got to fix yourself. Right. Because this is not what you're supposed to be doing, Andrew. And so I went and I talked to my supervisor, and I said, and the toolroom manager at the time, and I said, look, man, I said, I'm really going through a lot of stuff on a personal level, and I'm not trying to bring it to work, but it's starting to get that way. I said, I need to take some time off. Okay. I don't know how much. I don't want to use my vacation time. And, is there a way that you can hold my job? Is there something we can do, to where I can go get some help for my mental health and stuff before I just go off the rails? And he said, go talk to the HR manager, let's go have a sit down and we can come up with a plan and we'll figure out something to help you. The place I work for is a really small company. There's not even 60 people that work at this company, okay? So they're really family centered, and they like to help their employees when they can with things like that. And I didn't know that at the time, though. So when I go and explain everything to HR, they're like, so she explained FMLA no pay, and that would hold my job for as long as I needed to go. I wasn't going to get a paycheck, but they would hold my job for me as long as it took, right? And I was like, okay, that's fine. Let's do that. So I found a place up in Lenore, about 45 minutes away. I contacted them, and they said, yeah, sure, you can check in. This was on Wednesday afternoon. They're like, you can check in tomorrow, around lunchtime. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll be there. I'll see y'all before noon tomorrow. Thursday, I make a post on Facebook, and I tell people, I put it out there, look, took a picture of me. I said, look, this is me, unashamed, just raw. I don't care what you think about me. I'm going away for a little while because I need help for my mental health and my addictions. And thank you to anybody that supported me. Prayers are appreciated, blah, 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 whatever, and stuff. And then I went. And I was in there for 2.5 days. I signed myself out. I signed an AMA form on Saturday around lunchtime, so I'd been in there a little over 2 days, something like that. And while I was in there, I had all these epiphanies and these light bulbs going off in my head that were telling me, look, this is what you need to do with yourself when you get out of here. This is what we're going to do. And I stuck to it. I came home and I got on it. I've read articles and things like that about letting go of the past and letting go of these people that hurt you and all this other stuff. And I just thought it was a bunch of woo-woo, mystical kind of stuff.
Right.
But like I'm telling you right now, like all that's real.
Yes.
Like, so I came home and I called people and I made amends. I left messages to people that I couldn't talk to, but I left them messages, voicemails. I said, hey, look, I apologize for the things that I did that were wrong to you, and I forgive you for the wrong things that you did to me, right? But I'm not carrying this stuff around anymore. Like, I'm letting you know I'm dropping it today because the stuff is too heavy for me. I'm not carrying it around anymore. It's not serving me. Like, so this is me saying, I forgive you. I love you. You know what I'm saying? And, like, thank you for everything, whatever. But, like, yeah, I'm not carrying it anymore. Like, and I did that to several people. And when I was getting out of my vehicle, when I did this, because I was driving therapy is what I call it.
Okay.
I was doing that, and I got out of my vehicle to go into Walmart, and I stepped out of the vehicle, and I felt what felt like 100 pounds like slide off my shoulders, and I could feel it hit the ground behind my feet.
Wow.
Okay, and then that was it. Like I hit the ground running from then on, and it's been just I've been on it ever since. You know what I'm saying? Like nothing but growth and learning how to heal and better myself and make better choices. And I've not stopped yet, and I don't plan on stopping.
Well, good for you. Wow. I appreciate you so much for being vulnerable and sharing that. I have to take that in.
All right, you're good. It is a lot to take in.
Yeah, but I believe that a lot more people out there can relate to this story than they may want to admit. I believe everyone has been touched by an addict in their life in some form or fashion. If it may not be in their immediate circle, but a circle of a circle of a circle.
Yep.
So I do truly appreciate you being so vulnerable and opening up.
No problem.
So let's talk about how we get to the other side, because we know we all have had where we've got that demon on both sides of sure. There's no angel and devil on the other one. It's just devil. So let's talk about the angel winning some. So what do you think when you started to move forward from that place? I was listening to you and I wrote down a couple of things and some choices it seemed like you had made to help you step into what you're doing now and moving into your purpose. Like you had talked about asking for help was the first thing that I wrote down, that it seemed that you did. What compelled you to actually say something to your employers? Because that's no small feat, in anything. I mean, my kids are always like, Mom, you got to ask for help. I've had this stroke and I'm struggling with somebody, and they look at me like, what's the big deal? And it's hard for some people. I know it's very hard for me. So how did you do that?
People who's willing to admit it, I think, you know what I'm saying? Like, because there's that shame part a little bit, I think, like you're like or because it might make you look weak or something, and like as a man, you're not supposed to show weakness and stuff like that. So I always thought that was like me being weak or showing I wasn't strong enough to handle stuff on my own, you know what I'm saying? But we're not meant to handle things on our own, we're not meant to do it by ourselves. But at that point, it was really like, for me, like, what else do I have to lose? If they fire me, oh well.
Okay.
I mean, at that point, I was at the point of kind of, at a point of no return, really. Like, it was like, I either ask for help and they say, no, you're fired, and you know what I'm saying, I lose my job and I can go get treatment and then come back and try and find a new job, or I go ask them and they say, okay, we want to help you with this, we'll hold your job for you while you go get your mental health right. So like I was just like, like at this point, who cares if they fire me or if they don't? Like I need to go say something, because if I don't, I knew that I was more than likely going to wind up in the crematorium, pretty much. Like, in one way or another, like whether if it was drugs or if I would have done suicide or whatever, like.
Right. Right.
So
that's
I figured, so I figured that was what I had to do. Like, so I was like, let's just go see what they say. And thankfully,
yes.
they were a lot more understanding than I was expecting them to be.
Right. Right. So I guess if you're, I would say I guess that makes sense because you're at the point where, you said, well, I'm just going to go ahead and die, and I'll be saving my boys. They won't have to worry about watching me suffer. So it was like at that point, you were like, I don't have nothing else to lose but ask for help. Like, what's the worst can happen? Because I'm already trying to just go ahead and end my life, so I'm not a burden, or my children don't have to see me suffer. So
exactly.
Yeah. So tell me about the forgiveness, the asking and the giving of forgiveness, because that seems like that also kind of pushed you where you could get to the other side. And like you said, I could just see you getting out of that truck when you were talking about it. I could see this in my mind, you getting out of your truck, putting one foot down on the cement, and just a huge, like you said, bricks felt like it was falling off of your shoulders, like that huge weight of what you were carrying.
Yeah, for sure.
So tell if you don't mind, was it you just felt lighter inside, like?
Oh yeah, I mean inside and outside. Like I said, like when I stepped out of my vehicle, like, okay, and I've got a bad back, and I have for several years. So like sometimes when I get out of my vehicle, like, my lower back will try and tighten up on me. So that's really what it felt like at first. Like when I put both feet on the ground, I felt my legs kind of buckled, like. But when I stood up and straightened my back, like I felt the weight like slide off my shoulders, and I could feel it hit the ground like behind my feet. And like I just kind of looked around, like I was like, what in the world was, and as I shut my door and I come around the corner of the back of my car and started walking into Walmart, it hit me, like I was like, damn, Andrew, you feel like 100 pounds lighter. Like I started walking, and it was like my steps were a lot lighter. You know what I'm saying? Like just this overwhelming like joy kind of came over me at that time, and I was walking into Walmart like with the smile on my face for the first time in what seemed like ages. And I was just like, wow, did that really just like what just happened there? Like I didn't even comprehend it quite at first, but I can still see it vividly. Like I don't even have to close my eyes. Like I can still see that very vividly in my mind, like that whole sequence there. Like, and it was amazing. I mean, that's one of the best feelings that I'd had in well over a decade. I know for sure, probably, and still is probably one of the best feelings that I've had over the last couple of years too. Like since I've got clean, like that was a really big moment, and it was like, wow. And I'm sitting there thinking, if I knew that letting go and forgiving people, would have felt this good and would have lightened my load this much, I'd have done that a long time ago. Like, how much other stuff am I carrying around with me still, So I started doing more self-examining and looking at myself and my life and the way I felt about a lot of different things. And, like, not only that, but I learned during that time how to forgive myself, right? Yeah. Because that's, what I'm saying, like, it's important for us to forgive other people, for the wrongs that they've done, but we need to be able to forgive ourselves for the wrongs and the things that we've done to others, but also forgive ourselves for all of the hurt and the pain that we've caused ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah. Because like that goes hand in hand with it. So like when you learn to do that, like that was more weight that fell off my shoulders, and I felt even lighter. And I was walking around one day after I did that exercise, forgiving myself and stuff, and it wasn't as what's the word I'm looking for? It wasn't as symbolic, I guess, as the first one.
Right.
But like I still felt noticeably lighter in my steps, and I was like, man, if I keep doing this, and if I keep forgiving, and I keep healing like this and stuff, like I'm gonna be floating like the butterfly and stinging like
Singing like a bee. Get it?
You know what I mean? Like,
I love it.
but I mean, and that's what it was like. So, and you know, one of the things that set this light bulb off, or these light bulbs off, was when I was in RHA in Lenore for those 2.5 days. They had bunches of books there. I'm not one to watch TV or Netflix or any of that stuff, really. But I did find a book, and it was Happy, Happy, Happy by the late Phil Robertson, you know, from Duck Dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
And in that book, he was talking about when he found whenever he came back to the Lord after all the wrong and all the crazy stuff that he was doing, like when he owned the bar and, you know, like running around on Miss K and like just being a complete just drunkard and like just not a very nice person, you know, and how God forgave him, and then to see the empire and everything that he's built, you know, because of that and stuff like that, that kind of clicked for me, and it was like, that's what it's about, you know what I'm saying? Like, if, you know, you need to get back into your faith, Andrew, you know what I'm saying? So like, and I've been working on it. It's been a work in progress, and it's still a work in progress, but I know now, for me today, especially over the last like 3 or 4 months, like when I've been reading a book called Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life by Bob Proctor.
Okay.
It's a really great book. I recommend it for anybody that wants to change their paradigm, their programming, whatever, you know, to help improve their life. And I've been doing a lot of work on that. And the newest thing for me is like learning how to keep an attitude of gratitude.
Yes.
All the time, like even in moments that you might not want to, or you think you shouldn't, you know, like you might not always have a good day, but there's something good in every day, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, and that's been my thing, but like when I lay my head down at night and I'm saying thank you, and I'm doing visualizations for like kind of how I see myself like moving forward in the future and stuff, like it's just tears flowing down my face, and like I've never been like that in my life. Like I wake up and I feel like my life has purpose now.
Yes.
So, and like on my way to work, like I used to listen, you know, and like rock out with the radio up or Spotify turned up, you know, whatever, and stuff on the way to work in the mornings. Like now that's my quiet time, and I spend that, you know, I come up with 10 things, 6 of them are usually the same, you know, like my family, the roof over my head, the bed I sleep in, like, you know, my boys, my family, the support they've given me, like the vehicle I have, my job, and like the other 4 or 5 things are pretty variable that I switch up between, you know what I'm saying, or I try to think of new things like every day and stuff like that. So, but that's how, and then I set my intentions for the day in the morning time in my 20-minute drive I have to work every morning. Like, so I say thank you for the 10 things, and then I, you know, ask for guidance, and I ask for strength for the day, you know, and there's a prayer that Mama used to have on her kitchen, one of her cabinets, that said, I think it said, Lord, help me remember there's nothing today that'll happen that you and I can't handle.
Together.
Something like that.
Yes, yes.
And like, and I recite that too. And then, you know, by that time I'm usually about ready to pull in the parking lot, and then I'm like, all right, let's
do it.
Here, and we're gonna have a freaking awesome day. You know what I'm saying? Like, in your name I pray, amen. You know, and then I'm like, all right, let's get it. Like, let's do it. And I go do it. You know,
get it done. Yes, yes. Oh my gosh! Wow, wow. Thank you so much, Andrew. This is so refreshing. Thank you so much. You know, I don't believe. Well, I don't give a lot to just coincidence. You know, I do believe that there is a divine plan, and everything is orchestrated. I don't care how.
Everything happened for a reason.
Yes, a coinkydink. And it's amazing, because to me this is just another, you know, I'm a believer, and I believe my God is that big. And my very first guest for 2026 was a guest by the name of Jamil Matthias, and he studied. I don't know if you heard the conversation that him and I had, but he studied Bob Proctor. So,
Yes, he did.
and
Yes.
I'm just like,
He's actually the
wow,
one that recommended that book to me. Yeah, so I looked it up and
wow,
ordered it on
wow,
Amazon.
wow, wow. So I'm just like, wow, this is such full circle.
Yep.
And, you know, um, I just, I just can't say enough. I just appreciate you pointing out also that we need to do more of giving and extending grace and forgiveness to ourselves, because
Sure.
I do know you're absolutely right, and I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm listening to my kids saying I need to ask for more help. A lot of it is just, my pride, and I don't want to be weak, and I don't want to impose on them, but I
It's
have
your
to give
ego talking.
myself,
Yes.
right, I have to give myself grace, and we are human, and sometimes you do need a little help. So hopefully that can be encouraging for those that feel like they're in a spot or a place that they can not move forward, that they can if they give themselves a little bit of grace. But
Yep.
so that does kind of bring us to, I guess, coming to the end of all the things I want to ask you. But I want for you to share with the members of our group, now that you're living in your purpose. You get to work and you're like, okay, amen, let's get her done. So what message do you or could you share with someone out there that's listening who feels lost? Maybe may not be an addiction. Maybe it's, just has no purpose in life, doesn't even feel like getting out of bed. It could be depression. What would you want to share with them to maybe help them take that first step that we were talking about, so that they can fulfill their dreams?
Don't be afraid to ask for help. Okay, is the first thing. Like, I know, because I used to think the same thing, that asking for help makes you look weak, or it might make you seem like you know what I'm saying, or whatever. Like, but that's not the case. Like, asking for help is actually one of the bravest things that you can do. Like, there's nothing wrong with asking for help. And if you feel like you don't have purpose, or you don't know what your purpose is here on this earth, look at the things that bring you joy. Like if it's helping other people, like being of service to others, if it's art, if it's music, if it's going out and speaking, if it's, you know what I'm saying, like whatever kind of things bring you joy, like that's what you need to do more of. And like there's and there are so many groups on Facebook, support groups and things like that you can find on social media nowadays, and like podcasts and whatever. Like, get involved in them. I mean, I've met some amazing people in some of these recovery groups online, and like they've led me to places like the Be Awesome Network with Lori and Jamel and you. Okay, so like, just and stick with it. It might not seem like life's going to get any better or whatever, but like I promise you it does. Like, I'm living proof.
Yes.
I mean, it can turn around in an instant, but you've got to, you can't be afraid that. You've got to be willing to put in the work. Like, it's not just going to magically happen and get better one day. You're not going to wave a magic wand and abracadabra and you're going to have this great perfect life. My life's still not perfect. Like, I've still got work to do, but I know where I'm not. And I know where I never want to be again.
Right.
And like I make steps each and every day. Like I'm not where I want to be at in my life either. Like, eventually where I see myself is, doing more with my brand Dope to Hope and spreading that message and working full time in health, life, and recovery coaching and not really having to do manufacturing anymore. But I'm willing to do that and just continue to take the steps. And like with this interview with you, and like the one I did in the Be Awesome Network, anytime I have an opportunity to share my testimony on a Facebook Live in the recovery groups, like I take those opportunities because like you and I discussed before we started this, you never know who's out there listening. You never know who's watching.
Yes.
And somebody might hear you and might get interested. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might pique their interest on something. So, like, keep moving forward. It doesn't matter if you're running, walking, crawling. If you're freaking army crawling on your belly and, like, barely moving at all, like, a little bit of movement forward is better than no movement forward or moving backwards.
Yes.
You've got to see it through, like, because things will eventually get better.
Yeah. You're so right in that. You're so right for that. But I didn't get a chance to, because I'm not found it, because actually, I want you to talk more about the organization that you started, Dope to Hope. To share more about that.
Okay, so I started that back in October. I've only got one design of t-shirt out right now, and that's the one that you saw in the picture of me standing on the blowing rock that we were talking about. I'm here for it, and I'm here for it. That's a quote that I've said pretty much since I've got in recovery. Like, I'm here for it, and what that is it's about living in the present moment. Like, I'm here for it right here, right now, whatever that is.
I'm here for it.
It doesn't matter if it's good, if it's bad, if it's happy, sad, whatever. Like, I'm here for it, and I will accept it with open arms and open eyes, because because I'm not anxious and worrying myself over something that's more than likely not going to happen in the future.
Yes.
Right, and I'm not beating myself up, or I'm not depressed about something that happened yesterday.
Yes.
I'm here for it right now. Like, that's what that shirt is about.
Wow.
And I've got a couple more designs that I plan on coming out with.
Okay.
And like I said, the shirts that I sell, I keep the money for, and then when I sell the shirts, like, I take them, like, after I get a couple $100s or whatever, then I'll take them to different, not just one recovery center, but like different ones in the area, like kind of like a round robin. Like, I'll pick, a handful of them, and then I'll give to this one this time. In the next order of shirts, I'll give to this recovery center here, and then I'll give to this homeless shelter. Like, you know what I mean? So that's kind of my thing, my plan moving forward is like, you're not just buying shirts to support me or something like that. Like, no, or you're not just buying the shirt to buy a shirt. Like, when you buy the shirt, you're helping somebody else find a better way of life.
Yes.
It's like you buying the shirt is giving somebody else a little bit of hope.
Yeah. I love it. So, for any of you out there that are listening, Andrew is going to go under the live, and you're going to put your links, whatever you got, Andrew, you're going to put it all in there. And if you want to talk to him, pick his brain, I'm sure he's going to be open to the conversation. So feel free.
Talking about it, yeah.
Feel free.
I'm not ashamed of my story at all.
Yes, feel free to reach out to Andrew. Even if it's just you have a question and you're struggling and you may not want to ask for help in your circle, I'm sure he can point you in the right direction. So
I will do everything in my power to do some research and help point you in the right direction, for sure. Like, if I can't, I'll try my best to point you in the correct direction of somebody else that can.
All right, wonderful. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been such a pleasure, and I look forward to talking to you again. And everyone, like I said, Andrew's going to put his contact information underneath the live. You want to reach out to him. Certainly, if you're interested in purchasing his shirts, I'm sure he'll put the link or whatever that we need to get that done underneath the Facebook Live. So
if you're interested on me coming to talk, or through a Facebook Live, or through a phone interview like this, like, I'm all for that too. Like, all you have to do is ask, and we can get it set up.
All right.
And one more thing, when you asked about what I would say or advice I would give, is it doesn't have, like, start with your mindset. Once you start, like, when you change the way you look at things, what you look at changes. So that's a big one too, So like you've got to get out of that victim mentality and start getting into the victor mentality. When you do that, your whole world will change drastically. I can guarantee you that much because it did for me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're certainly evidence of that. So thank you, Andrew, for being so vulnerable today. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. For all of you out there in Facebook land, thanks for tuning in. Andrew, hang out for just a minute while I wrap this up, okay, before you hang up.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, you all, God bless. Have a wonderful night. And don't forget, this Saturday, I will be doing Vacation Makeover with Jennifer Barrington. As you all know, Unleash the Power Within is happening in December. Or maybe not, September. I don't know. I have the dates wrong. But anyway, Tony Robbins will be doing his event, and Jennifer Barrington and I are going to be discussing some options to get you all to that event and back so you can travel smarter, save some money too at the same time. So I'll see you all Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Vacation Makeover. Other than that, you all have a wonderful night. God bless and take care.